Hi, good people. Jack O'Malley on a President's Day update here. I just came in from shoveling the driveway, a couple inches of snow. I hear in the north, we've got some light snow, but I hear the southern two-thirds of the lower peninsula, it looks like getting hit with some snow here, up to 5, 6 inches, maybe even 8 in some areas. So that ought to be a fun drive to Lansing tonight. But just checking in, touching base. I know that there's the stick to the issues crowd that only want me talking about this, that, or the other. But I think that, and that's important. I'm talking about COVID related issues. I'm talking about restaurants. I'm talking about masks. That's all they want me to talk about. But there are other things happening in the state, and we need to deal with them. And I will say, even on all those issues, and I'll kind of touch on one of them here in a little bit, we are still working on them. But that doesn't mean that we can't just stop everything we're doing. And that's where, in some ways, it's difficult to do this job because there's all sorts of plates spinning, and you've got to try and keep them all up and not crash to the floor. So I'll talk about restaurants here in just a minute, but I do want to touch base. One of the things last week, I mentioned my emergency management bill, and then I'm upset with the story of the testimony from Department of Technology Management and Budget saying, well, we didn't have a pandemic protocol in place. And my question is, why not? This is an example of why emergency management needs to be moved out of state police. Now, immediately there were we don't need to grow big government. We don't want the governor putting somebody else in charge. Well, let's talk about a couple of those things. First of all, no matter whether it's Whitmer, Snyder, Engler, Blanchard, Granholm, whoever, every governor gets to put in their directors. That's just the way it works. So we can't just change it all. It's not going to happen, all right? So that argument is, no, sorry. It just works. If the person who's next governor is the person you want, you're going to be happy that they can put that person in charge. So it's just the way the system works. The other about growing government. This technically isn't growing government. I know, technically, Jack, technically. So it would be a type 2 transfer. That means all we're doing is taking this portion of MSP and creating its own division. All those people, it would become the smallest, I'm told, the smallest Department of State government we have, about 75 people. And the money just moves with them, all right? And so that whole we're growing government, it's not true. And I would argue this. We have shown and proven in the last year how important emergency management, or dare I say the lack of emergency management coordination, is. And I think that it's time for emergency management to blossom and grow on its own. It's the small tree next to the big tree. We need to transplant it and put it over here and let it grow and let it evolve so that your safety is paramount to these people. I'm not knocking MSP. What I'm saying is MSP, in charge of emergency management, their bias is towards policing. And that's okay. Just like, MDOT has aviation, maritime, and rail. Well, their bias is probably a little bit towards roads just because it's the biggest part of the budget, blah, 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 blah. That's my point. Emergency management needs to be focused on coordinating all of those. So when the argument comes up, I don't want the governor picking the person, well, that ain't going to change. And that we're just growing government. Actually, we're not. We're just creating. Think of when DNR and DEQ were together and they moved Eagle, then DEQ on its own, they changed the name to Eagle. Point is, they just moved. It didn't change anything other than it was no longer part of this. It became its own. So just an FYI. Another thing that is being talked about, and why I say things have gotten a little quiet, is I'm going back to the budget. I think this is massively important. And the governor has her budget proposal. We have ours, the House, and the Senate has theirs. Now, I want you to go back a year and a half or so when we were in this same predicament and we all had our budgets, and the governor, when everything went to hell in a handbasket in this state with the governor, was in the fall of 19. If you remember, October 1st, we have to have a budget by Constitution. In September, we say, we got to talk, Governor. She stopped talking to us for the last 3 weeks prior to October. Just stopped talking. And if you remember, because I do, there were some last minute negotiations that went on via email, right? And it was someone in her office that leaked those emails, which is, that's tantamount to war. When you're trying to negotiate and you leak emails like that, that is not a nice thing to do. So that's when everything went to Hades. And if you remember, so then we passed our budget as we had it. And she came back with 147, I think it was, line item vetoes, record. And then she used the administrative admin powers more than anybody ever had in the past. And she started moving stuff around. That's when all of this began. The whole governor versus legislature. And it's on her because of what happened there. She's the one who stopped talking to us for 3 weeks when we had plenty of time to negotiate. 3 weeks. And then she's the one who vetoed all of that stuff. And I can pull out the list if you want me to. So we are now in negotiations, or should be. I'm not on a propes. So these next couple of weeks are going to be very important as things happen. And again, the House has been very restrictive in the funds that we want to give out. We want to give them out slowly as opposed to just one big lump sum. The governor wants all of that money. We're saying, no. We'll give you for this, we'll give you for this, and then let's discuss, and then we'll give you for this, and we'll give you for this, as opposed to just, here's all our chips. So again, you're going to hear squawking and squealing from the administrative branch about how terrible we are. Just remember where we began in the fall of 19 with all of this. It ain't on us. It's on the governor. So that's how I see it. You can agree or disagree. And then I want to continue talking about restaurants. Chatting with one restaurateur this weekend, and he had 2 locations. One never opening again. And the second, he's just doing takeout and delivery. But he said he's not even going to think about opening up till we're at 50 cents because he can't make money. And he's had a couple of long-time employees now have to go find work elsewhere, and he's lost them. So, and he described it in a very interesting way. He said, I think part of the problem is our governor is trying to mother us. And she's forgetting that it's more than just COVID. You've got the entire state that has issues. And this COVID is affecting so much more now than just the illness. It's not to take anything away from the illness. People who think the governor's doing the greatest. It's not to take it away from the illness. No, we still have to take care of that. We still have to work on that. But remember I mentioned earlier all the plates spinning? Well, you can't just watch the one plate, COVID plate. Because if you do, all the rest come crashing down. And that's where we're at right now because the governor is so focused, for whatever reasons, I can speculate, but I won't. She's watching this one plate spin, and all the others are wobbling and tumbling. And we need to get them all spinning again. So that's my Monday update. I've got a late afternoon meeting, and then I'm hitting the road. So I wanted to get this in, and I'll be back on Wednesday. More to discuss, I'm sure. But just a thought from Lansing. It's been interesting. I have been getting some comments and feedback from people who truly think I'm a horse's patoot. But that's to be expected. I am just being who I am, doing the best I can, trying to be as straightforward with you as to my thoughts and why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And I know not everybody watches these videos every day, even though they should. They don't. But I think that as it goes across the last year, I've explained to you why I've done everything that I've done. And again, you might not like it, but it's who I am, and I'm being straightforward with you. So I hope you do like it. I hope you do understand it. Even if you don't like it all the time, I hope that you realize that I'm being straightforward and honest with you as I see it, and trying to give you a little inside scoop as opposed to what you might just read in the headlines or see on some website who we don't have any idea. I'm trying to give it to you from ground level as I see things happen. So I hope that's appreciated. So, all right, I'm in about 10 minutes. Keep praying for this state and all its leaders, and of course nationally too. And I'll keep praying for all of us. All right, good night.